The other command that might be very useful to use this time is something related to the rectangle command. You can see here that I created a floor lamp, and the command that can actually offer you to chamfer or to fillet all edges at once lives inside of the rectangle command. So if I click on rectangle command here, one of the things that you're going to see is chamfer and fillet. This means that I can instantaneously apply chamfer or fillet to the created rectangle or square. So how to do that? Once I get this message after I click on the rectangle command, I'm going to click on fillet here. And when I click on fillet, I can basically put any value that I want. Here, for example, it's 5. We might up that to 10 and click enter. And now it reverts me back to the specifying the first corner or point. So I'm just going to click here, and then I'm going to drag. And when you click and drag, you can see that you instantaneously have applied the chamfer or the fillet to all 4 corners of your square or your rectangle. So for example, if I put here 160 by 160, this is how your rectangle is going to look like. This is very beneficial when you're creating your kitchen countertops. If you have a value, because definitely all kitchen countertops do not have a sharp corner. So you might use this, or if we go here again, and instead of using the fillet command, this time I'm going to use chamfer. So I'm going to click on chamfer. Right now, the value for the chamfer is 10 because that's the same value that we used for the fillet command. So I'm going to be sticking with that value, and I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. All right, and I'm going to click enter again for my keyboard because those are 2 values where you're cutting an edge between two lines. And now I'm going to just click and drag. I'm going to put the exact same values that I used before. And this is how it's going to look like. So even for a table, like for example here, for the table that I used for the exercise, of unit 5, you can chamfer those edges so it wouldn't look cornered like this, because in real life you have beveled edges, or you have chamfered edges, or you have fillet edges, but we don't have those exact corner points, okay, that exactly are 90-degree angle. So I use this technique to create the base for the floor lamp. And one of the things that I did even for the smaller corner, or that smaller base, is that I used another command here called scale to scale a copy of this and place it as the base from where the metal part of the floor lamp is going to start from. So we can explore the scale command while we are here as well. So for example, if I want to create another copy, exact copy of this fillet corner square, I can go to scale. So when I click on scale, I'm going to click on this object here, and I'm going to click on enter. Now I'm going to specify a base point here. Okay, so basically I need to select a midpoint. This is why I'm going to go back to my object snap, right click, and instead of geometric center or center, I'm going to click on midpoint, and I'm going to hover over and select that midpoint. Now after that, I'm not going to do anything else except selecting from specify scale factor or copy. I'm going to select copy, because what I want to do is that I want to scale a copy of the bigger rectangle or square. I don't want to scale the exact square. I want to scale a copy of that square. So that's why I will go and select this. And once I do that, you're going to see that there is a big rectangle that is actually being created. Now this is not exactly what I want. I want to scale this, okay, in a smaller size. So I'm going to specify a factor, or I'm going to specify a I'm gonna do this with my cursor. Now, what's actually hindering me from making this smaller instead of bigger is the fact that I have object snap turned on. So I'm going to deactivate all of those. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back to my drawing. Now you can see that right now we're still scaling it in a bigger scale. All right, and as I move my cursor up and down, this might be, you know, the a problem. But however, if I put a scale factor, for example, how smaller do I want this to be? So maybe I can put half or third or two-third, and because that's the scale factor I'm using here. So this is what I will be doing. I'm just going to put something like, maybe I want eighth of that size. And immediately after I put that value, you can see that this rectangle or this square is an exact replica of the bigger one. However, it's eighth in size opposed to the bigger square. So that small one is 1/8 from the original. It's a copy that is 1/8 of the original. So in a lot of situation, you will find that even when you're creating blocks, you don't precisely have the measurements of smaller part, so you have to eyeball it or you have to guess it, and you can usually use scale to scale copies of the bigger original objects to smaller copies, and we can do that using scale and scale factor. So hopefully, and then I continue doing that or creating the rod using just very similar method of what you used to do when you're creating two lines, and then creating, and I did exactly the same with scale. So I scaled one of the circle to another copy to a smaller copy. So with rectangle, the chamfered version and the fillet version, and with scale, you can actually accomplish a lot of shapes that uses those tools together. Another thing that we want to talk about before I wrap up is rotate command. Now, whenever that you want to rotate an object like that, I'm gonna click on rotate and select the object and click enter on the keyboard. Now, it's best always to rotate an object from its midpoint or center point. And to do that, I'm going to click on the OSNAP object, OSNAP here. And I want to make sure that the center or geometric center is selected. Geometric center is going to enable you to create or rotate the object based on its center point. And an object in our case is basically a polygon. And I'm going to click on OK, and then I'm going to hover over, trying to find the midpoint, the center. And whenever you hover, going back and forth, the point is going to be appearing. I'm going to click here, and then once I click, you can see that I can actually turn this up and down. We can exactly do the same thing as we did with scale. I can rotate the object itself, all right, by typing a value for the angle, or I can rotate a copy. So if I click on copy here, all right, now you can see that another copy is being created. And if I put the value for the angle, 45, and enter, you can have an exact copy of the object, and it is rotated 45 degree. Okay, in your case, if you just want to rotate the object, so if you create just an object like that, and if you just want to rotate the object, all you have to do is click on rotate, click here, enter, and then hover over to find the geometric center, click, and then this time type the desired angle and click enter to execute the command. So we talked about a lot of commands that are going to help you even in your assignment by creating chamfered edges, creating fillet corners, talked about the rotate command, talked about the scale command, how can you scale from an original to a smaller version or a bigger version with a factor. And we talked about rotate, how you can rotate according to a certain angle, and how you can rotate a copy instead of just rotating the original.